Okay, I wanted to show you one more paper and kind of walk you through it. So on Videos and Resources APA paper, there are already 4 videos here that concern the paper that you can download here. But I have you another sample paper. I have the regular sample paper, and then I have this annotated version, which is what I'm going to pull up and go over with you today, just to point out some different things like topic sentences, thesis statement placement, and working with sources. So this paper is by student Erin Blaine, and it's titled, Should Data Posted on Social Networking Sites Be Fair Game for Employers? And I just wanted you to know that this is the full title here, and then there is a shortened title in the running head. Now I'm not going to go back over how to set this up. You can find that in the other videos, how to set up the paper. You do it the same way every time. Of course, then we have the abstract. The abstract should be the very last thing that you write because it's a snapshot or a summary of your paper, and you can't write a summary of your paper until you actually have the paper written. You can save the spot for it, or you can just come back and, put it in because with Word you can adjust it however. But just pay attention, look at sample abstracts just to get a feel for the abstract. On the third page of your document, and all of this should be together in one file, okay? So when you submit, you should have it all together. On the third page is when you start your essay, and you're going to put the full title at the top center, and then immediately begin the essay. And so I want you to notice here that in this area, Erin is setting up the context for her paper. She's making it relevant to the reader, like why are we talking about this? And in here she gets into the concern, and then she ends the introduction with her thesis statement. Notice that the thesis statement doesn't say, I believe, or in my opinion, or anything like that. It just flat out says what the opinion is, and this is in third person point of view. As long as applicants have freely posted information in a public forum, however, there is no reason for an employer not to consult this information during the hiring process. So keep it in third person point of view. Yes, ultimately it is your position, it is the student's position, but there's no need to put I believe or in my opinion or anything like that. Each body paragraph has a clear and general topic sentence, so just look at this one. The number of employers and universities using social networking sites to evaluate candidates is growing every year. So from that topic sentence, I should be able to find information in the paragraph that deals with both employers and colleges and shows support for this, that proves, if you will, what this sentence says. And that is exactly what happens. She starts off with college admissions information, and she's using the source that begins with online behavior. So let's look at in-text citations. This right here tells me that there is no named author for this article because author is always what we go to first. And so if an author is not mentioned, then there's no author. And if I'm looking right here, online behavior, that's the words that I should be able to find on the left margin of the references page. So we're going to go all the way down here. Oh, there it is. Online behavior, jeopardizing college plans, admissions officers checking social networking sites for red flags. So this is an APA, and APA is very specific about capitalization rules and the way it's set up. But when we are in the essay, we are going to adhere to normal capitalization rules, but we are going to shorten it. Just give me enough. Literally, it could have just said online. We're going to go with online behavior. And that gives me enough information that when I see it in the parentheses, I can come down and find it on the left margin. And that is exactly what in-text citations are meant to do. Send you to the references page. All right, getting back to that. So there's one source information, and note that there's only a little bit that's directly quoted. We want to limit quotes. You should only use quotes when you cannot word it any better than the author, and just avoid these long drawn out quotes, okay? Then Erin goes to talking about employers, okay? So she mentioned employers and universities here, and she's discussed universities. Now she's going to employers, and she's using a different source, all right? And then next we have more support using a third source. According to the New York Times, 75% of recruiters are required by other companies to research applicants online, and 70% of recruiters have rejected applicants because of information they found. The practice of checking social media is so common that some employers use outside companies such as Social Intelligence Corp to do internet background checks on job candidates. All of this, we've already mentioned the container, if you will, of the source, the New York Times. And now we have the citation. This is from Preston. Notice that there is always a year with the author. You're not ever going to have just a year in parentheses. You either have the shortened title in year or the author in year. And again, we can find Preston down on the left margin in the references page. Please note that there are 3 different sources used in this one body paragraph, and that is absolutely how you should be writing your paper. This is called synthesizing sources, where you are looking at multiple sources and kind of seeing what they have in common and pulling that information together to support one point. Okay? Now, moving on. The next topic sentence is also a general topic sentence, and we also have 2 different sources being used here. Also note that whenever you are quoting something that your article has quoted, you don't have to cite that source separately, but you do use a special way of saying it, as cited in. As cited in. Okay, so again, 2 different sources are being used in this body paragraph. And this the beginning here. This is the opposing argument and refutation here. All right. Here I say, Erin responds more forcefully here to the opposition by showing more support for her original thesis. So if you think about it, any opposing argument, anything you do to refute that opposing argument is actually support for your thesis. So, she addressed the opposing argument in one way here, and now she's just really going to drive home her thesis, and that is going to show the refutation of that. The remainder of this paragraph really just sets up the rest of the paper. We have another general topic sentence here and news sources here to support this. And again, not just one source. I don't want to see just one source in a body paragraph. I want to see at least 2. Also note that here we are going to look at New York Times columnist Thomas L. Friedman. Okay, so the first time we mention him, we do use the date right there behind his name, and we go ahead, anytime you do have actual page numbers, you go ahead and use the page number in the parentheses. But note that he is also the next source that we are using, and so there's no need to repeat the year here. As long as there's no sources in between and it's really close together, you don't have to repeat the year again. Okay. That's not going to happen very often because a lot of times you're going to be back and forth on sources. But in this case, he's right there, so we don't have to repeat that year. Note that there's yet another general topic sentence and multiple sources being used to support. And so forth and so on. That goes on for the whole paper. I want to point out that while I do not want you guys using lengthy quotes, this is your paper. So you write it and you use your words and paraphrase when you need to or summarize. However, there might be a time when you need to use a long quote. So a quote of 40 words or more has to be set off at half-inch margin. It's just like, see how half-inch is the tab, the indentation. So you would set that up in page layout, and I'm sure let's see. Okay. Oh, it says it's 6, so let's move that back over to 5. I have no idea what that's about. Anyway, so you have half-inch margin for your long quotes, and you cite it a little bit differently. You actually end it and then put the source information, so pay attention to that. Also, it's very important that anytime you use a long quote, that's not the end of your paragraph. You must come back and wrap up what you have been saying. Like wrap it up and connect it to the overall argument. So make sure that you are studying how to do this properly. And no more than 2. for the whole paper. 1 is great, no more than 2. And then, I messed this up. I'm messing with it. Right here we have the conclusion. She brings back in Thomas Friedman. It's been a while since we've seen him, so the date is back. And of course, we still have the same page number because it's just 1 page. And then here are your references. References is the word here. You are still formatted and with the header and everything. And in alphabetical order, in APA format. Do not leave any information out. I hope that this has helped a little bit. Look over this paper and the notes that I've made in the margins and try to make sure that your paper matches it somewhat. You should have general topic sentences. You should have multiple sources per body paragraph. And you need to make sure that you are doing your citing properly. All right, I hope this helps.